They say every marriage has its storms. Some couples survive the thunder. Others drown quietly, long before the rain ever starts. For years I thought my marriage could weather anything. Money problems, exhaustion, growing older. But the storm that destroyed us didn't come from outside. It started right inside our own home. My name is Ethan Cole, and I've been married to my wife Lena for 21 years. I thought I knew her. I thought I knew what loyalty looked like. I thought I knew what love was supposed to feel like after 2 decades together. But all of that changed the day I found out the truth. It wasn't through an argument, or a confession, or even a text message. It started with a sound, a laugh, a light, playful laugh coming from our bedroom. A laugh that used to belong to me, now whispered to someone else. That was the moment something inside me shifted. I didn't scream. I didn't break anything. I just stood there, listening to the woman I loved laugh like a stranger. I didn't know it then, but that laugh would be the first crack in the foundation of everything I'd built my life around. And weeks later, when she came home from a business conference, and another woman opened the door to our house, that was the moment she finally realized what betrayal costs. Back then, life felt ordinary, the kind of ordinary you stop appreciating until it's gone. Lena and I lived in a modest brick house on the edge of Dallas, tucked between quiet streets and well-kept lawns. Every morning, I'd leave for work before sunrise. She'd still be asleep, her hair spread across the pillow, phone beside her hand like a second heartbeat. For a long time I thought we were happy, or at least comfortable. We didn't fight much. We didn't talk much either, just 2 people existing side by side, chasing paychecks and pretending routine was love. Lena's career was thriving. Corporate events, high-end clients, constant travel. She'd come home with stories about champagne receptions and beachfront conferences, stories that made me feel like my world was small compared to hers. I tried to be supportive, packed her bags, drove her to the airport, smiled as she kissed my cheek goodbye. But deep down, I could feel it, the distance growing, mile by mile, trip by trip. Our daughter Maya noticed too. She'd ask, "Why does Mom always have to travel so much?" I'd tell her, "Because she's good at what she does." I wanted to believe that answer myself. But as the months passed, little details started to change. Lena started dressing differently for work. New heels, tighter dresses, perfume that lingered long after she left the room. Her laughter came easier when she was texting. Her eyes dimmed when she was talking to me. I told myself it was stress, or maybe I was overthinking it. After 20 years together, you learn to let small things slide. But sometimes the smallest cracks are the ones that break everything apart. One Thursday evening proved that. The office had shut down early for maintenance, so I decided to surprise her, maybe take her out for dinner. But when I walked through the front door, what I heard from upstairs stopped me cold. A laugh, soft, playful, secret. And then her voice, warm in a way I hadn't heard in years. "Next week feels like forever." That single sentence hit harder than any confession could, because whoever she was talking to, it wasn't me. After that night, something inside me broke, quietly but completely. I didn't confront her. I didn't ask who she was talking to. I just stood at the bottom of the stairs, holding my breath, pretending I hadn't heard a thing. When I finally walked back in, 5 minutes later, keys jingling like I'd just arrived, she was in the kitchen smiling, casual, unbothered. She looked up and said, "Hey, you're home early." I nodded, pretending nothing was wrong. But inside, my mind was replaying every second of that laughter. Who was she talking to? Why did she sound happy? That night, I lay next to her in the dark, staring at the ceiling. Her breathing was calm, steady, like someone without a care in the world. Meanwhile, my mind was at war with itself. Part of me wanted to believe I'd imagined it. The other part, the part that still heard her whispering "next week feels like forever," knew better. The next few days became a blur of observation. I started paying attention in ways I never had before. Who she texted, when she smiled, when her phone buzzed and she turned it face down on the table. Every little action was a piece of a puzzle I didn't want to solve. On Monday, she told me she had an early client meeting downtown. That wasn't unusual. Her job was full of them. But the way she said it, her voice carried a small tremor, like she was afraid of her own lie. That morning, I left home early, just like she did. But instead of driving to work, I parked across the street. I told myself I wasn't spying. I was just making sure. But the truth is, Once you start doubting someone you love, you stop being their partner and start being their detective. At exactly 8:10, she walked out. Hair perfectly styled, new navy blue dress I'd never seen before, perfume so strong it reached me through the car window, and the way she looked around, cautious, almost nervous, told me this wasn't about business. I followed her from a distance, 3 cars back, through morning traffic, past the highway exit all the way downtown. My hands were gripping the steering wheel so tight my knuckles turned white. She finally pulled into a small cafe parking lot near the river, and 5 minutes later, another car arrived, a silver Mercedes. A man stepped out, tall, fit, early 40s, wearing the kind of confidence money buys. He walked straight to Lena's car and opened her door like a scene from an old movie. They hugged, not a polite, friendly hug. No, this was longer, closer, intimate. I felt my stomach twist. That was the moment I stopped guessing and started knowing. They went inside together. I didn't follow. I sat there, heart pounding, watching the cafe window as if staring hard enough could make time reverse. Part of me wanted to storm in, grab him by the collar, demand answers. But another part, the quieter, more dangerous part, knew I needed proof. Not emotion. Evidence. So I picked up my phone, snapped a photo of the Mercedes, and whispered to myself, if she wants to lie, I'll let the truth do the talking. Then I started the car and drove away like nothing had happened. That day changed everything. I came home from work, but not as a husband, as a man on a mission. Lena was in the kitchen when I walked in, humming to herself, spooning sauce into a pan. She looked up and smiled like nothing had happened. You're home early. Yeah, I said, forcing a smile. Traffic wasn't bad. Inside, I was replaying the scene from the cafe. The hug, the way her body leaned into his, the way she smiled at him, a smile I hadn't seen in years. That night, I didn't touch my dinner, didn't sleep. I just lay there, staring into the darkness beside me, wondering when my wife had stopped being mine. By morning, I knew what I had to do. Emotion wasn't going to fix this. I needed evidence, hard, undeniable truth. So I did something I never thought I'd do. I looked up a private investigator. His name was Paul Reyes. Ex-detective, mid-60s, gruff voice, no patience for small talk. His office sat in a worn-out strip mall between a nail salon and a pawn shop. When I walked in, the place smelled like coffee and old paper, the kind of smell you associate with secrets. He looked me over once, then gestured toward a chair. You said it's about your wife? Yeah, I said, handing him a photo of Lena. I think she's having an affair. I need proof. Paul studied the picture, then nodded slowly. You want photos? Timestamps? Logs? Everything, I said. Something that would hold up if this ever went to court. He named a price that made my throat tighten, a number that hurt, but not as much as being lied to. I wrote the check and slid it across his desk. He took it without a word. Give me a week, he said. If she's hiding something, I'll find it. That week was the longest of my life. I went to work, came home, acted normal, pretended to listen when she talked about her upcoming business trip, pretended not to notice how she smiled at her phone when she thought I wasn't looking. Every night, when she fell asleep, I lay beside her wondering how many times she'd lied to my face and smiled doing it. On Friday morning, my phone buzzed. A message from Paul. We need to meet. I've got something you should see. My stomach sank. I drove to his office, palms sweating, heart pounding like I already knew the answer. Paul didn't say much. He slid a brown envelope across his desk, thick, heavy. Everything's in there. Inside were photographs, dozens of them. Lena and the man, the same one from the cafe, together in different places. Hotels, restaurants, parking lots, always the same body language, always the same familiarity. In one photo, they were sitting across from each other at a restaurant, leaning close, their hands brushing across the table. In another, they were walking into a hotel lobby. The timestamp read 2:47 p.m. Another photo showed them leaving at 5:56 p.m. Her hair was different, her clothes were different. But her smile, that was unmistakable. They've been meeting for over a month, Paul said. Same man. Name's Adrian Shaw, married, 2 kids, works in marketing downtown. I felt my throat close. Married, I repeated, the word tasting bitter. Yeah, guess he didn't mention that part, Paul said. I stared at the photos again, the images blurring as anger burned behind my eyes. There it was, the proof I asked for. Cold, color-printed betrayal. I could have confronted her that night. I could have thrown the photos on the table, demanded explanations, screamed until the walls cracked. But I didn't, because somewhere between the first suspicion and this envelope, my heartbreak had hardened into something else. Not fury, not grief. Focus. If she wanted to play games, I'd make sure I ended them. Not with words, with consequences. I left the office, got into my truck, and just sat there for a while. No tears, no yelling, just a deep, quiet acceptance. My wife was gone, and the woman sleeping beside me each night was nothing more than a stranger with a familiar face. After I left the investigator's office, I drove for hours without direction. The city lights blurred past like ghosts. It's strange when your life falls apart. You expect to feel rage. But I didn't feel rage. I felt nothing, just silence, the kind that hums inside your chest. I parked near a lake outside of town and stared at the water until sunrise. For 20 years I thought Lena and I were partners. Turns out we were just actors in a story that ended without an audience. When I finally went home, she was already gone for work. She left a note on the counter that said, "Don't forget your checkup at Dr. Harris's office." The irony stung. She remembered the doctor but not her husband. I'd been ignoring headaches for weeks, sharp stabbing pains that started behind my right eye and pulsed down my neck. At first I thought it was stress. Maybe the lack of sleep, maybe everything. That afternoon I sat in the doctor's office, half listening while flipping through a magazine I didn't care about. When Dr. Harris walked in, his expression was calm. Too calm. He asked about my symptoms, ordered a few tests, and sent me for an MRI just to be sure. 2 days later I got a call asking me to come back in. That's never a good sign. When I sat down across from him, he didn't waste time. He folded his hands and said, "Ethan, the scan shows a small mass near your optic nerve. It could be benign or something we need to treat immediately. We'll have to run more tests." The words didn't register at first. Mass, optic nerve, treat. "Are you saying it could be cancer?" I asked quietly. He hesitated. "We can't confirm that yet, but yes, it's possible." My mind went blank. All the oxygen left the room. For the first time since I found out about the affair, I actually felt fear, real fear. I left the clinic without saying much. The world looked the same, cars, buildings, people crossing the street, but everything felt distant, like I was watching it from underwater. I sat in my truck, staring at the steering wheel for nearly 20 minutes, and laughed, not because it was funny, but because life had decided to kick me while I was already on my knees. My wife was cheating, and now I might be dying. That night, I didn't tell Lena. I couldn't. She was too busy planning another conference trip with her boyfriend. I watched her pack her suitcase, folding her blouses with precision, humming a song like the world was perfect. For a moment, I wanted to tell her, to see if she'd care, to see if there was even an ounce of the woman I married still left inside her. But when she looked up and smiled at her reflection in the mirror, whispering something to herself that wasn't meant for me, I swallowed the words. Instead, later that night, I knocked on Maya's door. She was strumming her guitar softly, eyes tired from studying. When she saw my face, she put it down immediately. "Dad, what's wrong?" I sat on the edge of her bed and took a deep breath. "I went to the doctor," I said. "They found something in my head. They're running more tests, but it might be serious." Her eyes filled instantly. "Serious like cancer?" "Maybe, but we don't know yet." Tears streamed down her face. She shook her head. "Does Mom know?" "No," I said, "and I don't want to tell her yet." "Why not?" "Because I don't trust her with my heart anymore, Maya. Not even with this." She cried harder and hugged me, holding on like she was afraid I'd disappear if she let go. And in that moment, I made a silent promise. No matter what happened to me, I'd protect her, even if it meant tearing down everything Lena thought she could control. She was quieter, withdrawn, moving around like she was walking on broken glass. Every time Lena spoke, Maya's expression hardened just a little more. She stopped laughing at her mother's jokes, stopped engaging at dinner, stopped pretending things were normal. Lena noticed, of course, but instead of asking what was wrong, she blamed me. "You've been filling her head with negativity," she said one night while washing dishes. She's 18, I replied softly. She can see things for herself. Lena rolled her eyes, grabbed her wine glass, and went upstairs. Her phone buzzed twice in her hand before she reached the stairs. She smiled when she looked at it. That same secret smile I'd seen too many times before. That was the moment Maya finally broke. It was a Friday night, around 10. I was in the living room sorting through medical papers when I heard the front door open. Lena walked in, her heels clicking against the tile, her perfume announcing her before her voice did. "Hey," she said casually, setting her purse down. "Sorry, client dinner ran late." Maya was standing in the kitchen doorway, arms crossed. Her eyes were red, her face pale, and for a moment she didn't say a word. Then quietly she asked, "Who was it this time?" Lena blinked. "Excuse me?" "The client," Maya said. "Who was it this time?" Lena's voice sharpened. "Watch your tone, young lady." Maya stepped forward, shaking. "I'm not a kid, Mom. You think I don't see what's happening? You think Dad doesn't?" The silence in that room was suffocating. Lena looked at me, expecting me to intervene, but I didn't move. I just sat there, calm, letting the truth find its voice through our daughter. "Maya," she said, her voice trembling. "You're misunderstanding." "No, I'm not," Maya snapped. "You're never home, you're always on your phone, and when you are here, you act like Dad doesn't exist." Lena's face twisted with anger. "Preston," she started, then stopped herself. She had almost said the wrong name. "Ethan," I corrected quietly. "My name is Ethan." That single correction hit her like a bullet. Her lips parted, but no sound came out. Even she knew she'd just said her lover's name. Maya's voice cracked. "Dad's sick, Mom. He might have a tumor. Did you even notice? Did you even care?" Lena froze, all color drained from her face. "What?" she whispered. "He went to the doctor last week," Maya said through tears. "They found something in his head, and you were too busy having dinner with your client to care." Lena's eyes darted to me. "Ethan, is this true?" I nodded. "Yeah, it's true. I didn't tell you because I didn't think you'd care." Her voice cracked, desperate now. "Of course I care. Do you?" I said softly. "Because lately, the only person you've been caring about drives a silver Mercedes." Maya gasped quietly. She didn't know I had that detail. Lena looked like she'd been slapped. "You've been following me?" she demanded, her voice shaking between guilt and fury. "No," I said. "I've been watching my life fall apart, and I wanted to know who was holding the hammer." Her hands trembled. "Ethan, Greater than don't," I interrupted. "Don't lie again. Not to me, not to her." The silence that followed was unbearable. Then, finally, Lena spoke, but not with remorse. Her face hardened. Her voice turned cold. "Fine," she said. "You want the truth?" "Yes. I've been seeing someone. His name is Adrian, and for the first time in years I actually feel appreciated." Maya stepped back, eyes wide. "Mom, how could you say that?" "Because it's true," Lena snapped. "I've spent half my life holding this family together while your father drowned himself in work. I deserve to feel alive again." That was the moment I stopped seeing her as my wife. Whatever love I had left died right there in our kitchen. Maya's voice dropped to a whisper. "You don't deserve him. You don't deserve us." And then she said it. The words that sealed Lena's fate. "Get out." Lena's jaw tightened. "What did you just say?" "You heard me," Maya said, tears running down her cheeks. "Get out." Lena looked at me, waiting for me to defend her, but I didn't. I just stood there, arms crossed, silent. "You heard your daughter," I said quietly. "Leave." Lena's voice cracked, trying to sound strong but failing. "Fine. I'll go stay at a hotel." She grabbed her purse, keys jangling, and stormed out. The door slammed so hard the frame shook. Maya crumpled into my arms and cried. "I hate her," she said between sobs. "No," I whispered. "Don't hate her, just learn from her. Promise me that—" She nodded into my chest, her tears soaking through my shirt, and as I held her I realized this wasn't just the end of a marriage. It was the death of a version of me that believed love meant forgiveness. From that night forward, I promised myself one thing: she would never break us again. After she left that night, the house was completely silent. No perfume in the air, no phone buzzing every 10 minutes, just peace, the kind I hadn't felt in years. Maya fell asleep on the couch, exhausted from crying. I covered her with a blanket and stood there for a long time, staring at the door Lena had just slammed. For the first time, I didn't feel broken. I felt clear, sharp, like all the noise in my head had finally gone quiet. That's when I made my decision. I wasn't going to scream. I wasn't going to beg. I was going to protect what was mine and make sure Lena learned that betrayal comes with a price. The next morning I made 2 phone calls, one to Paul, the private investigator, and one to a family law attorney named Benjamin Hartley. Paul answered first. "You need more?" he asked. "I have enough to bury her lies," I said. "Now I need to bury her plans." He laughed quietly. "Then talk to your lawyer. I'll back you up with everything you need." A few hours later, I sat in Benjamin's office, a small quiet space filled with books and legal folders. He listened as I told him everything, the affair, the photos, the hotel meetings, the night she walked out. When I finished, he leaned back in his chair and said, "You've got a strong case. With the evidence you have, she won't walk away clean, but we need to act fast." "What's the first step?" I asked. "File for divorce immediately," he said. "And since she's admitted the affair in front of a witness, your daughter, we can use that statement as leverage. Next, separate your finances. Every joint account, every shared asset. Secure your half." "The house?" I asked. Benjamin nodded. "It's community property, but given the circumstances, we can make a case for you to control the sale. Do you want to keep it?" I looked out the window, the skyline of Dallas glowing under the afternoon sun. "No," I said finally. "I don't want to live in a house full of ghosts." Benjamin scribbled a few notes, then looked back up. "We'll prepare the paperwork. One more thing, Texas allows for alienation of affection lawsuits. We can go after her lover for damages if you're up for it." I almost smiled for the first time in weeks. Oh, I'm up for it. That afternoon I went to the bank, closed the joint account, moved half of the savings into a private account under my name, every dollar documented and traceable. Lena could have her half when the time came, but not a cent more. Next I called our mortgage company and updated all correspondence to my name. Then I called our insurance provider, our utilities, even our internet service. I wasn't just ending a marriage. I was reclaiming control of my life. That evening, Benjamin sent the first draft of the divorce filing. I read it 3 times before signing it. When I clicked send, I felt something shift deep inside me. It wasn't revenge yet, but it was justice in motion. The following day, I called Carol Bishop, a real estate agent Benjamin had recommended. She was in her late 50s, no nonsense, with a voice that sounded like she'd been doing this her whole life. When I told her I needed to sell the house fast and quietly, she didn't ask why. She just said, "Leave it to me." By Monday morning, the listing was live. By Wednesday, we already had 2 serious offers, and by Friday, I'd accepted one, cash buyer, ready to close in a week. It felt poetic in a way. While Lena was preparing to fly off for her business conference, I was preparing to erase the last piece of our shared life. Maya helped me pack boxes over the weekend. We didn't talk much, we didn't need to. Each taped box was a goodbye, each empty room a release. She asked me once, "Do you think she'll ever realize what she lost?" I paused before answering. "Maybe," I said. "But by then, it won't matter, because I already had a plan. One final move that would make Lena face everything she'd done. Not with anger, but with shock. Pure, undeniable poetic shock. I wanted her to feel what I'd felt, to come home and find her world no longer hers. And soon, she would. When she left for her conference, the house was already half empty, boxes sealed, furniture gone, walls stripped bare of photos that once proved we were a family. Lena kissed Maya on the forehead and gave me a polite nod, the kind strangers exchange. She had no idea she was saying goodbye to the last trace of her old life. The moment her car disappeared around the corner, I called the movers. By nightfall, everything was gone. By the next afternoon, the keys were in Carol's hands and the closing papers were signed. The new owners, a young couple from Houston, would move in the following morning. Maya and I spent that night in our new apartment. 2 mattresses on the floor, pizza boxes on the counter, laughter echoing through the emptiness. It wasn't much, but it was ours, clean, honest, free. The next evening Lena came home. Maya and I weren't there to see it, but I can picture it perfectly. The sun dipping low, her white sedan pulling into the driveway. She probably noticed right away, the different curtains, the missing flowers she used to plant by the mailbox. Still, she walked up, suitcase rolling behind her, expecting everything to be exactly as she'd left it. She rang the doorbell. Footsteps approached from inside. Then a woman opened the door. Young, kind-faced, still wearing paint-stained jeans from unpacking boxes. "Can I help you?" the woman asked. "This is my house," Lena said, forcing a laugh. "There must be some mistake." The woman frowned gently. "I'm sorry? My husband and I bought this place last week." Lena's smile vanished. "No, that's impossible. My name is Lena Cole. I live here." "Ma'am," the woman said, confused, "we just moved in yesterday. Maybe you should call someone." And that's when it hit her. The realization. Every window, every wall, every inch of her old life now belonged to someone else. Her phone buzzed in her hand. "My name on the screen," she answered, her voice trembling. "Ethan, what did you do?" "I sold the house," I said calmly. "Your share of the money is in a separate account. My lawyer has the details. You can't just sell our home without telling me." "I didn't need to tell you," I replied. "I needed to protect what was left of me." She started crying then, the kind of desperate, helpless sob that once would have broken me. Now it just sounded like the echo of a choice she made herself. "Please, Ethan," she whispered. "We can fix this." "No, Lena," I said quietly. "We can't fix something you burned to the ground." And then I ended the call. I turned off my phone, sat beside Maya, and watched the city lights shimmer through our new window. For the first time in a long time, I felt peace. No revenge speech, no victory dance, just stillness. She had taken my trust, my home, and almost my sanity. I had taken back everything that mattered, my freedom, my daughter, and my dignity. Sometimes justice doesn't come with noise. Sometimes it's as simple as a door closing on someone who never thought it could. Weeks passed. The calls stopped. The noise stopped. Life finally exhaled. Lena tried reaching out a few times after that night. Messages, long emails, voicemails that swung between anger and apology. I didn't answer any of them. Everything she wanted to say was years too late. The divorce went through quietly. She got her share of the house sale and nothing else. I kept the rest, not out of greed, but because I had already paid for that piece 1,000 times over. Her lover, Adrian, settled the alienation of affection lawsuit Benjamin filed. The details aren't worth repeating, but let's just say he learned what it cost to play with another man's marriage. I spent the next few months rebuilding, not houses or finances, but myself. My test results came back. The tumor was benign. Relief hit me harder than fear ever did. I started running again, cooking again, living again. Maya graduated that spring, her smile brighter than I'd seen in years. We took a road trip, just the two of us. No plans, no map, just open highway and laughter. Every mile between us and the past felt like healing. One evening, as the sun set over the desert, she looked at me and said, "You didn't let it destroy you, Dad." I smiled. Maybe destruction isn't always the end. Sometimes it's just clearing space for something better. That's what I learned. That peace isn't given, it's built. And sometimes the quietest victories are the loudest lessons. Lena wrote one last time before disappearing from our lives completely. An email. No begging, no anger. Just a single sentence. "I hope you find happiness." I read it once, then deleted it because I already had. Peace isn't about revenge. It's about finally being okay with closing the door and never opening it again.